welcome to the LDG Experience podcast. Today we are actually on episode 19, and not just a bonus episode masquerading as episode 19. Today we will be discussing Nurgle. Tom, Pete, how are you guys doing today?
I'm great. I've been fed.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've just fed myself.
Yes.
Like a big boy.
Yeah, I ate myself.
And also now I'm distanced, more importantly, I'm distanced from Grandfather Nurgle's
You are.
embrace, so
Yes.
I'm feeling a lot better.
Pete was embraced by Grandfather.
I was.
Yeah.
Do you want to rephrase the fact that you ate yourself?
No.
Okay.
No, I do not.
No.
I'm going to let that stand.
Yep.
Okay.
There's chunks of me missing. I could stand to eat a bit of myself, actually. I am quite poorly. So.
Yeah.
But yes, before we get going, you took Bank Holiday Monday off.
I did on purpose
That
because
tells
I
you
was
we're
like,
actually recording
because I've
this.
never, my entire life, I've never had a bank holiday in
How's
all the
it?
jobs. So I thought, as the boss, I'm making an executive decision to take the day off.
And as a segue,
Yeah.
from what did you take the day
I
off?
took the day off from Onyx Dragon Gaming, where we stream normally Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays on Twitch from 6 p.m, painting various miniatures and things. Also, we do commission work and hopefully soon #YouTube content, because I'm finally getting around to sorting that out. I'm stop being a perfectionist about it and just do it.
Just get something on YouTube, Pete.
I
for
know.
God's sake.
Yeah, that's my problem.
If you need a hand with anything, just give
Yeah,
us a shout.
that's the autism in me is like, but it's not perfect. I'm like, yes, but you don't have a £2,000 camera, so no, it's not going to be perfect.
You're not going to get perfection out of whatever it is you're filming it with.
Yeah.
It can only do so much. So, yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So
what have you been up to then, Tom?
Well,
There
we have been at the car boot sales. We took Lazy Dragon Gaming, which currently is who me and Evie are, and we
On the road.
We were on the road, yes, indeed, and we were at Norcross car boot sale where we met some lovely people. It was fantastic. We sold some Pokemon and some Warhammer. But traditionally, we are LazyDragonGaming.com. You can find us on all the social medias at Lazy Dragon Gaming. You can find us on YouTube at Lazy Dragon Gaming. Now that leads me into, if you are listening to us on YouTube and you could be a lovely, delightful person, we would appreciate if you clicked the little subscribe button and rung the bell. If you have any questions for us to answer, because next episode, episode 20, is our Q&A, and we do have some questions, don't we?
We do have some questions already.
We have some questions, yes, which is wonderful. But if you have any more, please feel free to drop them in the comments. If you'd like to argue with Evie about whether or not she is a clickbaiter, you can also do that in the comments, which happened very recently. If you are listening to us on a podcast service around the world, be that Spotify, Amazon, or Pod Radio City, or whichever one it is, right? Am I right?
Amazon Music.
Yes.
Audible.
Yes.
Spotify.
Yes.
Spotify for podcasters.
Ooh.
Radio Public is the one you
that was it, yes.
Google Podcasts.
Oh, my word.
Or YouTube.
Yes, please leave a review. But to all you people listening to us throughout the world, because, Pete, we are international.
We are.
We have people in Australia, the Philippines, America, 2 or 3 different parts of America now.
3 different parts.
3 whole different sections of America.
We're colonising.
We are
in the best tradition of the British Empire.
Yeah, we are back in America.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, quick, plant a flag. 3 different parts of Canada.
Ooh.
Yes, so we're expanding in the Canadians, in the Canadas. That's better.
No, 2 parts in Canada.
Oh.
Ontario and Toronto.
Oh, so to our Ontarian and our Torontarian?
Ontarian and Torontonian?
Maybe? Let's go with that. Yes. Hello. We hope you enjoy your moose and your beer. But yeah, so today we are discussing my favourite of the Chaos Gods. This
My
is
least favourite.
Oh,
but particularly more from a painting perspective.
I see. I don't do painting. I'll leave that to you.
You don't like painting maggots?
I'll explain as we go.
Yes.
Why.
So, we are discussing Grandfather Nurgle. And I'm going to read off his list of titles first, because it is quite interesting. He is the Plague Lord. He's also the Plague Lord. Now, this is differentiated between the fact that Plague and Lord are both capitalised, or
one word.
Plague Lord is all one word. I'm not sure that's actually any different, or why that is. He is the Plague God, he is the Plague Father, he is the Lord of Decay, the Lord of Pestilence, the Fly Lord, the Great Corruptor, my favourite, Grandfather Nurgle, and the Master of Plagues and Pestilence. His portfolio is disease, decay, despair, destruction, death, and rebirth.
Yes.
Pete, do you know his sacred number?
7.
7. How very holy.
Yes.
Do you know his sacred colours?
Green. Brown, maybe?
So you are 50% correct. Putrid browns.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, see, yeah.
And bilious greens.
Oh, I remember that paint.
Specifically.
Bilious green used to be a GW paint.
He does live in the realm in the warp called Land of the Plague Lord, and we will get back to that because it is actually quite important. It's a lot of them. And as we did with the other gods, with this one, we will start with the demons.
Yes.
Of the Plague Lord first. But would you like to give us a bit of an introduction into Grandfather Nurgle, Pete, before we get on to the demons?
Right, so
Tell us a little
Nurgle, his thing is, as we said, disease and decay, but it's also more about not changing. Like it's about stagnancy more than that. Because his opposite is Tzeentch, who sings about change and all that. The whole thing about Nurgle is Nurgle is like, let's say you're dying from a horrible disease and you cry out for somebody to save you. Nurgle's like, don't worry, I got you. But he basically makes it so the disease just doesn't ever kill you. So if you can imagine like the worst time you've ever been sick and it's just like, you're like, oh God, I wish I was dead. And you're like, no. And Nurgle's like, no, I got you, fam. I got you.
I got your back, bruv.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then like, it's the whole thing is like, it isn't good, it's stagnancy. That's like, it is immortality, but at a price.
Yes.
As these things usually are.
Quite a vile, drippy and maggot-ridden price.
Yes, it is, yeah. Obviously, any of those sort of diseases and horrible decay, like I said, it's disease and decay, so it's like things breaking down, and that's why flies are a big motif in sort of Nurgle followers, and also the clouds, obviously clouds of flies are used both as weapons and defences, and to just herald the arrival.
Yeah, it's about basically anything that does sort of change within Nurgle actually just rebirths into what it was before.
Yeah.
It doesn't become anything specifically new.
Yeah, the maggots go to the flies and then die and become maggots and so on and so on,
Yeah, it's not like Tzeentch's thing is to actively take one thing and make it into another.
Yeah, it's the whole butterfly thing. It's like taking the caterpillar and turning it into a butterfly, whereas,
Nurgle's would just be a caterpillar that dies and becomes a caterpillar. Which is a big difference between the two. His demon legions are referred to as the Plague Legions. I'm seeing a theme.
Yes.
There's a big theme running through this. The first thing is Plague Bearer first, I think, Pete. Would you like to tell the dear listener what a Plague Bearer is?
Plague Bearers are the foot soldiers of the hordes of Nurgle. They are sort of shambling creatures, very distended bellies. They have one singular horn protruding from the centre of their forehead. They usually have one eye as well. They're cyclopean. And they sort of carry rusty plague knives. And they just look like, they've been hacked out of a piece of metal. They're very they'll be rusty and corroded, weeping with horrible gunk. Back in the day of Warhammer Fantasy, Plague Bearers were created from people who contracted Nurgle's rot, which was a particular disease which would waste away the host, and then eventually they'd start growing a horn out of their forehead, and then they would then turn into a Plague Bearer. And obviously, I think the idea was I think that the soul would be gone, and then the Plague Bearer's soul would.
Yes, yeah, they're very zombie-esque, aren't they?
Yes,
the closest sort of like 40k, especially reference, whereas because fantasy obviously has zombies.
Yes.
But
they're poxwalkers.
Yeah, 40k doesn't. They have really Plague Bearers.
They're Plague Bearers
or Poxwalkers.
Poxwalkers for the modern followers of Nurgle, but the point being is that Nurgle's rot used to be how you created Plague Bearers.
Yeah,
it's not
now
they're just a distinct entity.
Yeah, now they create Poxwalkers.
Yes,
from Nurgle's rot now.
Yeah,
which they're relatively.
They're basically just zombies.
Yeah, which are just zombies, but they're in the mortal followers.
And they're also, but also I think technically they're not dead.
No,
unlike zombies which are dead that have been reanimated. Poxwalkers are people whose brains have effectively been rotted out of their skulls.
Yes.
And they haven't quite died yet.
And probably never will until stabbed vigorously with something.
Yes, or decapitated.
So next thing, my favourite part.
Oh, yes.
The Nurglings.
Yes.
Nurglings are basically just snotlings, but demons.
They are tiny versions of Nurgle himself.
Yes.
They can sometimes be created from like Nurgle or all the great demons. They can just appear, peel off them, and they're just tiny little chaps who are trying to live their best lives.
Yeah, they're really happy little.
They are some of the best. I think one of the most notorious miniatures is the sassy Nurgling.
Yes,
he's wearing a Death Guard helmet.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nurglings are one of those things that whenever you see a new Nurgle model, you want to check it for Nurglings and see what kind of cool shenanigans they're up to
See
this time.
what they're doing this time.
Yeah, they're really fun little creatures. Like I said, the thing about this thing about a lot of Nurgle stuff is that they just want to have a good time.
Yeah, they're really happy.
They're really happy. They're having a good time. Because they have like a whole carnival thing going as well. They just want to have a good time, and they're just really sad that people keep dissolving.
Yeah, now, that comes into the fore in a moment, because there is in the next section.
Indeed, yes.
There is one, the backstory of which is amazing. But we have plague drones.
Yes.
And pox riders. Now, I believe these two are...
So the plague drones are like massive bloated flies. And I mean, when I say massive, I mean like they're the size of small helicopters.
Yeah, they're like tank size.
They are very like dreadnought size sort of thing. And then the pox riders are plague bearers riding said drones as cavalry.
Yep. And they are quite scary.
Yes.
They carry, obviously, and around them you get a lot more, like, smaller versions of them.
Yeah.
Going clouds.
Yes.
And they descend upon the enemy and gum up the works of their armour or weaponry or whatever, and then they get stabbed vigorously by either the big flying thing or the thing on its back with the rusty knife.
This is the thing about Nurgle, is like, it is aesthetically like probably the most disgusting.
Yep.
Like, in terms of people's reaction to. Because, like, people being hacked apart is one thing. Obviously, Slaanesh is the opposite way. Is trying to entice you. Siege can be kind of scary in terms of, like, some of the pure nightmare fuel kind of transformations. But I'd say overall, Nurgle's whole thing of, like, I'd say it's thousands. You can almost picture it and feel it. Is that like clouds of flies?
Well, it's like when you hear stories of people going to the Arctic or the Antarctic or something, and they get like frostbite in their fingers, and you can see it, and you're like, no, I don't like that. Well, this is the same thing, but with like diseases.
But imagine like frostbite sort of comes on quite quick. It's the same thing with the disease.
Yeah. And it's like necrosis, anything that causes necrosis is like...
That's the thing, it's
like petrifies like all of that. And then, as if that's not bad enough, you're rotting away and then a big load of maggots explode out of it.
Exactly. So it is visually like...
Very unappealing.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the hardest things to like depict as well.
Yes.
In any kind of like visual media without crossing a line.
Yeah, there's a lot of... You've got to be very careful with just how much of someone's internal organs you have on a model. Yeah. Before it becomes just a bit grim and not PG anymore.
Yes.
So now we move on. They are the lesser demons. They are the foot soldiers and like cavalry types.
They're not so well. They don't tend to fly very high.
No, they're too fat for that. Plague drones, actually, if you think of bloat flies from Fallout, but bigger.
Right.
Like that's if you like 5x the size of a bloat fly, you probably got a plague drone if you're a Fallout player. So next one we have a plague toad.
Ah, yes.
Froggy!
Yeah, they were cool. They were created by Forge World for the Termacan, I want to say, pronunciation, book, which was their first and only delve into Warhammer Fantasy in the same way as the Imperial Armour books used to be. Yeah, but the Plague Toads are literally just like these big fat toad things that are also just necrotic as all horror, as all heck.
Yeah, they are really cool. The models for them are
I always loved them.
Funny.
Yeah, they were very
cool. Really good.
Yeah.
The next one, I don't actually know, and it's called a battle fly. Now, it's pretty much self-explanatory as to what it is, but have you heard of a battle fly, Pete? Because I've never heard
Unless it's the specifically the mount, like the demonic mount for... In the same way that, Juggernaut's discs and things are the mounts for...
The characters.
Yeah.
For...
It might be, I don't know.
I
don't know it specifically,
I don't know, but next one is definitely my favourite one and has the best backstory.
Would that be the Beasts of Nurgle?
It would be the Beast of Nurgle. These are essentially...
Yeah, they look awful. They are disgusting, like very kind of slightly slug-like usually, with sort of weird tentacles and proboscis and things. But...
Very slimy.
Yes.
Yep.
But the thing that makes them kind of... From an external from a very, very detached point of view, is the fact that they have the mind of puppies.
Yes. And they are very happy.
Yes,
they want
they're
to
so
play.
happy, and all they want to do is they want friends. They
want
see people,
friends.
they go, "Oh, people, and they come bounding over to you, and they're
Yeah.
like, let's play, and then as you dissolve
Yeah.
into horrible, disease-ridden gunk, and that makes them sad. So
Yeah.
they then try and find more friends.
Yeah, and they also doesn't help that they weigh about a ton and want to jump on you.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
like your little puppy would run
Yeah.
up to you and leap into your arms.
Yes.
Well, imagine if it weighs about a ton.
Yes, and was mostly slime.
And mostly slime and extra, tentacles.
It's like a Saint Bernard that still thinks it's a puppy.
Yeah, but
Like a
bigger.
full
But
grown-
even bigger,
Yeah,
more like a
you-
Caucasian.
Yeah, like these huge, enormous,
Yeah,
great
the
things.
bear fighting dogs from
Yes.
Russia and the steppes.
Yeah, just those kind of things, but with that sort of mentality that's really happy to
Yeah,
see.
they don't have a malicious bone
No, they're
in their
not
body.
malicious. It's
They just want to play and have fun.
Yeah.
And Nurgle's made it so that every time they find somebody, it just
Yeah, they have yet to come across anybody that can withstand.
Well, I
their-
assume that people like Plague Marines and stuff probably
Yeah, maybe.
be like, oh, there's a cute guy. Go on, have a bit of fun.
Go and play with the mortals.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But Beasts of Nurgle, and the models are awesome, and they're a lot of fun. The backstory for those is great.
Yeah.
And it also always makes you just go, oh, he can't find friends.
Yeah.
He just wants a friend.
Yeah.
But they weigh about a ton, and they are deadly.
Mm-hmm.
And playing for a Beast of Nurgle is basically squishing you and turning you
Yes.
into goop.
Mm-hmm.
But then they are sad. And then they get happy because they hear someone else and go and do that instead.
Yep.
So I love Beasts of Nurgle. I think they're fantastic. So, moving up from the demonic beasties, the heralds of.
Yes.
There is the Herald of Nurgle, which is just basically...
Just a plague bearer with delusions of grandeur.
Yep, pretty much. And then there is Epidemius,
Oh, the
Now-
Tallyman of Nurgle.
the Tallyman of Nurgle. And it is his job, as far as I am aware, to keep a track of the losses caused by
Yes.
the
Individual plagues.
individual
and things,
plagues and things. And he is...
He rides on the classic mount of the Nurgle follower, which is the palanquin.
yes.
Which is basically a sort of rotting chair carried by a tide of Nurglings.
Yes, which is the best way to travel.
Oh yeah,
I
obviously.
mean, if you had an
I
option...
mean, if you don't, if you are a follower of Nurgle and not like some regular dude, because it isn't the best way to travel because you die of something horrible.
Yeah,
But
if you are, however, a Herald of Nurgle and someone came to you and said, how do you want to get from point A to point B? My response would be, in a rotting chair carried by Nurglings.
Yeah.
Because, why not?
Exactly.
Epidemius has been around for a very long time.
Yes.
He was, as far as I remember, he was not a mortal follower of...
No, he's
Nurgle
just a
was
particular
raised
herald.
up.
No, he's just a
He
particular
was-
herald
yeah.
that has been.
He was a herald that has got better at what he does, and Nurgle
Yeah.
said, "You go and keep track of things."
Yes.
And he does. And he's there is no real backstory to him other than to say that he is
the Tallyman.
He's the
A lot
Tallyman.
when it comes to the demons, because they've obviously been around for so long. A lot of them don't have real backstories
No.
as such. Unlike someone like Scarbrand, whose whole
Yeah.
deal was he did a thing which then turned him into what he is now.
Yes.
Or as someone will come on to later, Kairos Fateweaver, a similar thing.
Yeah,
actually
they
no,
were
because Kugath has a backstory, I believe.
Who's that?
Kugath Plague Father.
Yeah, he's
is-
not on here, but I can think he was.
He was.
I think he was a.
He was a special character. No, he wasn't. He was. Well, we'll come on to it anyway.
Okay, cool.
We'll get to that section. But the
Okay.
point being is, a lot of the sort of herald level characters are just like their whole thing is their speciality. So like
Yes.
Skulltaker, his whole thing is he's just a guy who's really good at killing like enemy champions.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So and then moving up from the heralds. Obviously, you have Demon Prince of Nurgle, and
Indeed.
much like all the other Demon Princes we discussed, the difference is only that these particular Demon Princes follow Nurgle.
Yeah.
These ones usually, but not always, are mortal followers who have been granted demonhood.
all demon princes were once mortal. That's what makes them demon princes.
Is that the thing? I
Yeah.
thought there were some that weren't.
No. Because obviously you become a herald if you're a demon.
Oh, okay.
Or a greater demon. Yeah,
I
no.
see, I
Demon
see.
princes are specifically always mortals that have
Yes.
achieved demonhood.
So there are obviously quite a lot of those, and some of them sort of will have stories that we will get to shortly. And then the next one, my favourite of the greater demons, the Great Unclean One.
The Great Unclean One. Yes.
He is a very happy soul.
Yeah, they've always had really good models.
Yes.
I think.
Looks a bit like an enlarged Jabba the Hutt with tusks.
Yeah, like a really obese kind of guy. Yeah, they tend to have like two like antler-like horns.
Yes.
The traditional weapons of the Great Unclean One used to be a massive plague sword and a flail of skulls.
Oh, right, okay.
So, like, the original one used to have, like, a 3-headed flail and a sword.
Yes,
And
actually. Now there's one with a bell now.
Yes, because that is Rotigus.
I believe so.
Because the thing is, there have been 2 named Greater Demons of Nurgle. One has never had a model, but had a really cool story, which is Kugath Plaguefather. So, Kugath Plaguefather he started off as a Nurgling, in fact. He was a little tiny Nurgling.
Oh, he did! Yes, I remember this story.
And
I
he
think you might have
fell
told me this.
into Nurgle's, like, because there's a massive... Nurgle has this massive cauldron where he brews up all these various horrible diseases and things to release onto the real world. And the poor Kugath fell into the cauldron.
No, poor little Nurgling.
And started drinking.
But then it's his own silly fault, isn't it?
Yeah, and then that made him huge.
Yes.
And effectively turned him into a great unclean one. So Nurgle was very pleased with this. And he gifted him a slightly smaller version of the cauldron. So he was like... It was a shame he never got a model, because I always loved the description of him, because he's basically a great unclean one with this massive cauldron where he's mixing up new diseases. But he was on a palanquin as well, like a great unclean one sized palanquin. So this whole thing, if you imagine like this massive wooden like decking kind of thing,
yes,
of rotting wood,
right,
with a cauldron and this massive demon on it on the back, sort of stirring away, and
a
little attendant, and then underneath that whole rotting deck is just a cloud of Nurglings. I've seen some lovely conversions through the years. Kugath. It's Ku'Gath.
I found his little entry.
Here we go.
Yes, and unfortunately he's very small.
Yeah.
He's called the Plaguefather.
Yes.
Now. Kugath is driven by an eternal quest to discover the most perfect pestilence that has ever existed.
Yes.
That is his thing, and that is literally his entry on the Warhammer Wiki. You tell such a better story a lot of the time. So I'm going to go through some notable Great Unclean ones.
Yes.
Botchulaz, who is trapped by the Eldari in a black pyramid. Ooh, where have we heard that before?
Yes, that was actually part of a campaign, I think.
It was.
Remember rightly?
And then you've Bothrax, who was overran 3 Imperial sectors in M33. That's quite interesting. Glumglar Gartol.
Indeed.
Him, yes. He fought against the Scythes of the Emperor, who have come up before.
Yes.
And will come up again. Kugath, the Plaguefather.
Yep.
Rotigus.
Yes, this is the new one. When they did the new kit for the I always say this like new. Like it's not 15 years old.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, when they did the latest version of the Great Unclean one, the plastic one.
Yeah, he's the character.
He's the special character. Yes. Yeah, they sadly I get why, because Kugath would have been quite an involved model, but I don't know much about Rotigus. If I'm brutally honest, I've never really learned, because obviously Nurgle's like my least favourite one. So
basically, as Death Guard sieged the Imperial hive world of Nebulous reached into its 7th standard year, Mortarian's Death Guard sorcerers summoned the ancient evil to aid them, which was Rotigus. So he was summoned into the mortal realm by the Death Guard.
Hey, you guys.
The strange Great Unclean One, known as Rotigus, joined the fight, bringing with him his appalling aura of infernal fundicity. I don't know what those words mean, but there we go. Basically, so they summoned him in to start doing all sorts of filthy things inside a hive city. The hive world. Right, okay, we've got Scabiethrax.
Now, Scabiethrax is the Forge World exalted Great Unclean One.
I see.
So Forge World did like a series of 4 great demons that were like super huge.
Right.
Ironically, Scabiethrax is now the size of the regular Great Unclean One.
I see. So
I think he might be slightly bigger, but not huge.
Yeah, so he used to be quite large. Now he's just...
Yeah. He was a really awesome model. I remember, like, when I worked at Warhammer World for a brief period, we used him as a test bed for the new washes had come out.
I see.
And he was really cool painting him. I remember my friend Matt Hilton painting him in just using nothing but washes, and it looked amazing. So, sorry, that's a really random sidetrack, but it was really fun. It was like a little cool thing.
He was biggest thing was basically on the Siege of Vrax, which is huge.
Yes, because being Forge World, they put Nurgle demons appeared a lot in that, and he was because they had callbacks Utter Blight, which was the demon prince of Nurgle, and then Scabiethrax, because obviously they wanted to bring in all the demons at the end of the Siege of Vrax. Yeah,
which is a big thing we might cover. We might. Yeah, it's quite a long one. So. Septicus 7.
Yes.
One of the commanded the Septicus Legion.
Yep.
And was second in command to the Greater Demon Kugath.
Yeah.
Within the Plague Guard. which was in Ultramar. So
yes,
he
that
fought
was
against...
that was the Dark Imperium
Yes.
trilogy that they had to write twice.
Yeah, that they did a few times to make it not shit. Sloggoth Poxbelly, like that name.
Yep.
Sloggoth led the plague armies of Nurglite demons against the fortress world of Cadia during the climax of Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade. So he is very new. He's a new one. Thing in the Walls. At some point during the Age of Apostasy in the 36th millennium, this great unclean one assaulted the mobile fortress monastery Martyr in the Calgary sector, sorry.
Oh no, my poutine!
Oh no!
Oh no!
So basically...
Apology to our Canadian listeners.
I am sorry, that was awful. But yeah, there was a 5,000 year long battle to do with that, apparently. But yeah, so there we go.
If you're stuck in the walls, we time to get out.
I know, right? Apparently it took him 5,000 years. We have one against the Blood Ravens. It was defeated by the Blood Rangers. Ravens, I should say. Called Ul-Kayar. Or Ul-Kar? Ul-Kayar?
Don't know.
No, that one. No idea. And that's the end of the notable ones of those. I do have some notable demon princes for you.
Yep.
Vilurox the Maggot Father. You heard of him?
No.
No. He's a former heretic Astartes.
He might be the name of the miniature that Seb Perbert made.
Oh, okay.
You know, the one that used to be a very specific model. In fact,
it's that one, yeah.
Yeah, he made a picture. He did it. It was really cool. Again, a little sidetrack. I remember before he came to work for Games Workshop, he did it as a Golden Demon entry.
Oh, right.
Where he converted it, and then when he went to work for them, they were like, "Please make that into a thing." So he slightly changed it and made it into a miniature that everyone could enjoy.
Ah, I see. Yeah, no, it's the standard Nurgle.
Yeah, the Nurgle Demon print model.
Mephidast. Was a mortal follower, very quickly. Something to do with the Gellerfield. It went wrong, we'll come back to that because that's important later. Let me quickly scan through. Ignatius Grulgor.
Ignatius Grulgor.
So now this one's important, and I think this leads on quite well into the Death Guard.
Yes.
Because Ignatius Grulgor was...
Captain the Second?
He was the captain of the Second Great Company of the Death Guard.
Yes.
During the massacre on Istvan III.
Yep.
And he was posted on the Eisenstein to kill Nathaniel Garrow should he decide that the Emperor was in fact correct.
He tried and failed.
He did try and fail.
But in the
I'll let you tell the story because you're better at it.
So in the fight that ensued, or was it, they kind of got wind that this was going to happen.
Yes.
Garrow and his loyalists, and they found out the ship was going to launch virus bombs, I believe.
Yes, life-eater virus bombs. Yes.
Yes. So what happened was, effectively, there was a skirmish on the weapons decks, and one of the warheads was pierced, releasing the life-eater virus onto the gun deck area, and Grulgor was taken by the life-eater. Normally, as you can imagine, this would be the end of his story.
Yeah.
But it was not. There had been, I think, if I remember rightly, they start hearing on the Endurance, which is the flagship of the Death Guard. They start hearing whispers, and they could feel sort of like some of the librarians could sort of feel a presence in the sort of area. I think he starts manifesting around the Gene Seed Vault, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
In the Apothecarian, and they kind of go there, and they're like, "What the heck's coming on?" And this thing sort of starts coalescing out of the air. Because he is now he is a demonic version of the life-eater virus itself. And he kind of comes back, and Mortara's like, "Dude, I thought you were dead. I'm really glad you're back." And they make him like this suit of armour that he can like seal, and then in the novel Vengeful Spirit, he then they send him down to the planet, and he sort of like opens like various seals on his armour and releases the life-eater virus. He's like literally like a demon prince that his whole thing is like he is a sentient version of the life-eater virus using Exterminatus. So that's the story I know.
So that is the story as told in the Eisenstein.
Yeah, and then in
the novel.
Yeah,
and he comes back later in books after that.
Yes, in Vengeful Spirit is when he returns.
Yes, and it's worth noting that the life-eater virus is basically what they do with it is they drop it down onto a planet, and it consumes all life.
All organic matter gets basically dissolved. So the way that Exterminatus works with the life-eater virus specifically is
there are different types.
Yeah, so the life-eater one is you fire it down, all organic matter is dissolved so quickly, releasing a ridiculous amount of oxygen into the atmosphere. Then what happens is the one of the ships above will fire a lance weapon or a high energy weapon, which ignites the atmosphere, which then will scorch the entire planet.
Yes.
Killing
the life eater virus.
Killing the life eater virus and everything on it. Yeah,
And
this is how you kill an entire planet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they do that when all else fails and nothing else, but they want to.
Or if an Inquisitor's like, I don't like their face. Yeah.
So that is Ignatius Grulgor. He is important. We're going to come back to the Death Guard shortly after I finish this quick run. Jian Lao. He was fought against Coldor Drago, the Grandmaster of the Grey Knights.
Yes. Yes, I know that one. Oh, no, it's gone.
Yeah. So, and then Mammon,
the
Arch-Corruptor of Vrax. He's also
he's the other one. So I'm thinking he callbacks out of Blight is the other one, but yeah. There were two.
He was a big thing with the Ecclesiarchy, basically.
Yeah, he was like a
Vemoth. Do you know Vemoth? Sorry.
No, the name rings a bell, but I can't.
He was slain by the Soul Drinkers.
Oh, that might be in. Yeah, that might be in one of the novels, probably.
So, and that brings us to the end of the known demon prince. Well, the ones that are here. I should say.
The named demon princes.
Probably are more of them, honestly. But the Traitor Legion attached to.
Yeah, known most for its alignment to Nurgle is the Death Guard.
Yes.
Headed by Mortarion, the Death Lord.
The Sulky.
Yes.
The anti-psyker who's now a psyker.
Yes, because, No, I never used to have a lot of time for Mortarion and the Death Guard because he was always portrayed as being a bit of a knob.
Well, I think the biggest one with Mortarion was he was a constantly whinging little bitch despite him being, like, proper
ridiculously
hardcore.
Powerful, yeah. I have to say, the one novel that turned me around on him was the very last novel of the Horus Heresy series, which was The Buried Dagger.
All right.
Is nominally a story, well, it's got two stories, but one story is about the story of how, because in the old lore, basic old lore, is that the Death Guard they did all the shenanigans on Isfahan and all that, and then as they're travelling to Terra, to join the final assault, they are becalmed in the warp. And Typhus, we'll come on to later, he's the first captain of the thing. He's convinced at this point he convinced Mortarion to kill all the navigators because he didn't need them and they were useless.
And psychers.
Yes. And he basically says, look, they're all like, look, becalmed in the warp. They're like, well, and they're getting frustrated and they think they're going to be stuck there forever. And they basically convince them to crawl out and say, can someone help us get to Terra, please, please, please? And Nurgle's like, I got you. And then when they arrive at Terra, they are the Death Guard that we know now.
So I think I can add a little bit to this story, and I'm not sure where...
That was the original, way back, because it was like a lot of
in the interim time before we get to that bit, and I think it might have been Ben that told me this bit, basically that you get Typhus, who is Callus Typhon.
At that point,
At that point. And anybody with the name Callus Typhon is always going to be a villain. It is destined from birth. He basically has already fallen.
Yeah, this is something that's coming on up in the Buried Dagger. Is that he in the same way that say for those people who know like the word bearers, Corferon and Erebus.
Yeah.
They were always bad guys.
Yes.
And then they corrupted their Primarch. Very similar thing happens to the Death Guard. Typhus has already learned of Grandfather Nurgle. Yeah. And he's kind of been slowly just kind of nudging.
So Callus Typhon, or
Typhus
as he's now known, is a very powerful psyker.
Yes.
But doesn't show it because Mortarion doesn't like psykers at all. No. And the reason he doesn't like psykers is the planet he was distributed to,
Barbarous,
was basically a very polluted world.
It was ruled, and it was ruled over a race we just know as the Overlords, who lived high up in mountains. So the idea was that the place is quite a toxic planet, but as you go higher up, the density of toxins just gets progressively more ridiculous. One of the Overlords found Mortarion as a baby, realised he was a super powerful human, because they kept the humans as slaves and workforces, whatever. So what he did was he sort of took this baby up the mountain to a point where he could just about breathe and live, built him a palace there for him to grow up in, and then disappeared up the mountain even further to be like, you'll never get to me.
Yeah.
And they were also powerful psychers as well, and Mortarion hated them and resented him, and eventually had a rebellion against them.
So the first rebellion failed, didn't it?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Because he's one of the few that didn't conquer the planet he was on.
No.
Or had come to govern the planet.
No. They start trying to, then the Emperor turns up and he's like, like we'll do this together kind of thing. And Mortarian's like, no,
No.
sod off, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
And he sort of heads up the mountain and unfortunately just passes out.
Yeah.
He nearly dies, and the Emperor basically saves him and then exterminates the Overlords, I believe. And
Yeah.
Mortarion never really got over that.
No, he basically saw that as some sort of like betrayal, and ever since then he had savage daddy issues, which led to him joining Horus in the Horus Heresy.
Yes.
He then sets off to, during the Siege of Terra, he's on his way to Terra, when Typhus basically says, hey, all these Psychers are really dodgy that are piloting this ship, they might be loyalist. So Mortarion kills them all, and then the Geller field starts to flicker, is what I was told, and like his men start to succumb to various different plagues and what have you, and Mortarion sort of calls out to.
And sometimes it's like all you have to do is accept this bargain, accept this power,
take this power,
and you will, you'll never be beaten again in the ways that like you care about.
Yeah,
because their Holy Red Death Guard was always they go into the worst places. They couldn't be like they were implacable. They would never stop once they started advancing, no matter what kind of virus or gas-filled hell.
Yeah.
They would just come out of it like poisons, like. They used to have a ritual where they would drink poisons from thing, let their systems overtake. Like
so, Mortarion would have a goblet with all this poison,
horrible poisons, and he would share it with a captain that he had distinguished himself.
Yeah, and it would.
It's a mark. It's like a big ritual, mark of
respect type of thing. But it was really weird, and that was Nathaniel Garrow.
The last one we see. Yeah, we see
of it, and he was the one who was like.
Yeah.
So he was a Terran from before Mortarion was refound.
Yes.
Whereas Ignatius Grulgor was a Barbaran from the
pretty much all the Barbarans are the ones that turn.
Yes, and the Terrans are the ones.
There are obviously some Terrans that turn because
and some Barbarans that don't, I believe.
Yes.
But they sort of do that. And then so Mortarion, with the aid of Typhus, falls to Nurgle and takes his legion with him.
And becomes becomes the Death Lord. The one with the weird sort of butterfly.
Yes, he has butterfly wings, are very beautiful. But, but in doing so, in becoming Demon Primarch, he also becomes a Psyker, which he hates the most.
Yes.
And now I have a question, which I didn't ask for the other ones, and I probably should have done.
Yes.
So I'll start with Khorne.
Yeah.
And that would be Angron.
Yes.
So a bit of a flashback. Do you think Angron is redeemable?
No. Angron was always broken.
Yes.
The pain engine.
The butcher's nails.
That's it. Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
So even if they found a way to get the butcher's nails out,
it's too late.
Too late.
There's not enough of him left.
No.
At this point.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the whole point. He's had his entire personality, and like that's why Lorgar ended up turning him into a demon prince, because he would have died otherwise. Like he literally was like being eaten away by the butcher's nails, and it was the only thing that saved him, quote unquote, was becoming a demon prince. But there's not much there behind the eyes. He's not a planner. He's not a
there's no thinking.
No, he's just a mindless rage beast.
Yeah. So then we go to Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Which is Fulgrim.
Yes.
Is Fulgrim redeemable? Do you think? I agree with you about Angron, by the way. Yeah. I think we might disagree on this one, though. And we're definitely going to disagree on the one for the next god next time.
I don't think either this particular version of Fulgrim is redeemable, because I feel like he is too prideful.
Yes.
Way too prideful. He just thinks everything he does is the best and that he is the best. And I don't think there's anyone coming back from that.
So I think
down far. I think with a lot of these guys, they've gone too far down the path.
So I think it would have been possible, given
there were windows
who he was.
Yeah.
Now I don't think he is.
No.
But if he was still the same as he was a couple of millennia ago, before they turned the dials up on all the Primarchs, then I think he actually could have been. And I do think if they'd have carried on, as we discussed with the Slaanesh episode, without the mirror cracked or whatever it was called, then I do think he could have been, and that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Now I think they've gone so far down the path with them, with the exception of one, which we'll come to next time. We're not going to discuss now. So stay tuned for that. Zinch's episode is good. But I would like to see Fulgrim be redeemed, though. I think the Emperor's Children are so cool, and you have the two sides of the Emperor's Children, where you have
the loyalist side of the Emperor's
loyalist
Children,
and
the Soul Tarvitz side, which is like understanding that perfection is unattainable,
yes,
but still worth striving for, is the more balanced view.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes him such a great character.
Yeah, Saul Target's an amazing character.
Yeah, whereas, unfortunately, a lot of the Emperor's Children are just flat out knobs.
Yeah, so
before we even start, they're all sort of princey, posy knob-ends. Like, your Eidolons and your Luciuses, and he's just a backstabbing twat. Fabius Bile again. A lot of those guys are just broken before we even start.
Yeah, there are not many good guys.
No, that's my point. Like, the Legion's a bit shitty, to be fair, and that's why I don't have much time for Fulgrim personally.
No, I really like the Fulgrim character. I did think they did him dirty in the.
I think if he'd been Dorian Grade,
yes,
we would probably be. I would probably argue.
Yeah,
he could be redeemed, but...
And that, of course, brings us on to the one we are currently discussing, and that is Mortarion.
Now, of all four, I think he probably is the most likely.
I agree with you. I think Mortarion is the one who regrets it the most.
Yeah, and I think it will be hard. The problem is, it's not like he would... I think the only way he could only be redeemed in a neutral way.
Yes.
Like, as in not going back to the Emperor, because I don't think he'll ever wants to return to his father's side. Like,
no, he doesn't like him enough to...
No, but I think maybe he could be persuaded that humanity is worth saving.
Because he didn't want to be anything to do with the warp in the first place.
Yeah, so I think, of all people, I think if there was if somebody came to him with a magical hand-wavy thing and said, look, we can restore you to your basically post-human self.
Yes.
And... you can go about your ways. Would you take it? I think he would at least stop and think.
Yeah, I think Mortarion probably would be the one who would have the longest to think about it.
Yeah, I think again, like I said, I think they're all far too far down the path now. But I think he would be the one that would take pause.
Yeah,
would take even a moment, a fraction of a moment to be like, what could it be like without this?
Yeah, I think I don't think we can understress just how much Mortarion disliked Psychers.
Well, he hated Typhus. There's a lot of the Horus. Well, no, then even in the Horus Heresy, there's a long period of the Horus Heresy where the Death Guard will go off doing one thing, and Typhus has got a chunk of them doing something else, and Mortarion's just sick of it. He's just like, for fuck's sake, he's off doing something somewhere. Yeah. And when I see him next time, I'm going to crack his skull, basically. So he kind of does that for a lot of there's a lot of that. They never really ever see eye to eye.
No.
And whilst they're both technically on the same side, I think again Typhus resents the fact that Mortarion is Nurgle's chosen. Like he feels like he should be the one.
And there's also a period of time where he is more sort of looked upon by Nurgle than Mortarion, while Mortarion's having a suck.
God, yeah. When it comes to the host of the Destroyer Hive, it really turns for the first. It becomes Typhus.
Yes.
Really, is when he is Mortarion. He is Nurgle's chosen one.
Yes.
But like all things with the Chaos Gods, it's like, but now I've got somebody more powerful.
Yeah.
So screw you.
And then it's worth having a quick discussion about the Destroyer
Hive.
Yeah. Which is now what Callus Typhon became.
He becomes the host of the Destroyer Hive,
which I don't know anything about other than.
Yeah, it's I've never don't know much because again, like I said, Nurgle is the one side I don't know a lot about because I don't, like I said, I've never really been a. Then I'll explain now. The reason why is mostly from a painting point of view. Like I'm not a massive fan of all the horrible drippy organs and whatnot, but also the thing I have about it is I've seen loads of Nurgle armies over the years, and it's the same thing I have sometimes with orcs, is there is a fine line between painting something to look like it's disgusting and rotting and whatever,
yes,
and just making it look like it fell in paint.
I see.
And that's the thing for me, is that as someone who paints quite cleanly, Nurgle stuff's quite difficult for me because doing that weathering and it's. Although I did a really cool discussion on stream the other week actually, because I've been talking about doing my Black Legion again.
Again.
Yes, because they've been an army that I've had on and off, but I've been wanting to do them for ages because I've always had this idea of having 5 armies that all form one army. So each of the 4 powered legions. So your Death Guard, your 1,000 Suns, but as painted up as they are serving the Black Legion.
I see.
So they're all in black, but their shoulder pad and their helmet is the relevant colour for the god.
I see.
But I would just use the rules for. So I'd have a 2,000 point World Eaters army, 2,000 points, 1,000. Anyway, for a long time I was desperately trying to figure out what to do with the Nurgle. How do I make Black Legionnaires look like they're from Nurgle while still making them look like they're from the Black Legion?
I see.
A really good discussion online with my people in chat, which was really cool. And I think I finally cracked it, which was because normally obviously I do metal trim with gold shoulder pads, and it worked out actually really cool to do the metal work with more of a brown tint rather than using Niagara Associated, so Nuln Oil. So you're a bit dirtier, but also then to go in and stipple in something like Athonian Camo Shade. So you get little spots of green, like, decay on the metalwork before I go back in and then paint over because the way I paint my black legend is I paint all the metalwork in and then go back in and fill it all the panels because it's quicker. That's a random painting aside there, but I think we finally cracked it.
So basically, what you're saying is you want to do Nurgle Marines without the guts dripping out.
Well, no, they still have they still be using all the Nurgle
using
Marines.
Death Guard?
Yeah, still all using Nurgle Marines. It was more that I want them to be painted like they need to fit the rest of the army.
I see.
So whilst they need to look like the Nurgle, and they look, but the thing is, like, they need to look like decayed Black Legionnaires as opposed to just Death Guard guys that maybe have a Black Legion symbol.
I
see what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of painting them all greens and browns and everything, it's like, no, their predominant armour colour has to still be black and silver and gold.
I see.
But they need to look like they've been...
That'll look pretty smart, I think, actually.
Yeah, so I the problem is, as with all these sort of things, I've now gone, I really want to buy some Plague Marines now, just have a quick go.
I might be able to help you there.
Ooh.
I might have some.
What if you do that? Would be amazing.
Yes, because our Claudia has... who's a massive Nurgle fan, by the
Yeah.
way. And if she doesn't listen to this episode, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
But she has, or at one point at least, owned every single 40k Nurgle model.
Damn.
And most of the Age of Sigmar range.
Yeah.
Not all of it, because some of it was harder to get. Including, and the Nurgle Blood Bowl team.
Yeah.
This is how far into it our Claudia went
a
with.
follower of the Grandfather.
She is a very committed follower of Grandfather Nurgle. So after, where were we up to? We've done Mortarion.
Yep.
And I firmly believe that we could get Mortarion back.
Yeah.
I think he's the most likely, just because of his hatred of Psychic.
Yeah, like I said, he'd have the pause. There'd at least be the pause.
Yeah, and I think
I'd
like to see that. I would like... Do you know, Marvel did a What If? Did you see the What Ifs? Did you ever
Yes,
hear of those?
yeah,
they're really good. The What Ifs, I think, are really interesting.
Yes.
And I think 40k need to do a What Ifs. And one of them, or at least some of them, should be, what if this Primarch didn't fall? Or what if this Primarch
I feel like that's
changed
that's the obvious, the major what ifs are usually, what if they didn't change this?
So obviously we can't have what if Magnus didn't fuck up. I'm not going to spoil what he fucked up because that's obviously coming up in the next episode. But what if Magnus didn't fuck up? What if Sanguinius fell? What if I don't think it would matter too much what if Jagatai Khan fell. I don't know whether that would make a big difference, but certainly what if Mortarion didn't?
Yeah.
Like, what if the Death Guard were at the Siege of Terror
on the defensive side?
On the defensive side, how much difference would that have made?
Yeah.
That's the Death Guard were a force to be reckoned with.
And Mortarion especially.
And Mortarion.
They are a big part of the Siege of Terror, yeah.
What if somebody shot Erebus in the face?
That's something I think about daily.
Yeah. What if Lorgar had a nasty accident as a child? Stuff like that.
It's not. Yeah, the Lorgar thing is like, no, it's not. We don't want him to be. We want him to be like a loyalist or anything. No, we just want him gone.
We just want Lorgar to be gone.
Yeah, the Wordbearers can just eat a massive bag of dicks as a legion. Yeah.
Yeah, just please go.
What happened if they just evaporated?
Yeah.
What
happens if and like all that sort of stuff? Because I think that'd be really cool. What if Fulgrim didn't fall? Because then obviously Perturabo might not have figured out what was going on as early, because obviously that's a big deal. There's
a lot of with all these
really
sort of changes.
Cool what ifs that they could do, especially because they've got Warhammer Plus, right? And you can just animate them.
Yeah.
Because if you can't get the budget together to do a massive TV show.
Yeah.
Just get a bunch of people
what
to
ifs,
what ifs,
because
they're really cool. But yeah, so what if Mortarion came back to the Emperor and was like, "I'm really sorry, Dad. It was all my fault.
It was Horus.
It was Horus's fault. He beat me.
Yeah.
He bullied me into it."
Yeah, that's what it was. So the Death Guard. Yeah, they are.
I like the Death Guard. I do. Models aside, I think some of the models are a bit meh.
Again, like I said, there's a fine line between looking awesome and going over the top.
Yeah.
I think with some of the Nurgle stuff, personally.
Evie, can you remember how many maggots Dan had to paint on that model? Because I know he was... one day Dan Sykes, who's another commission painter, he's a very good painter, and he was painting a Nurgle model. And every now and again, both me and Evie would hear him swearing vigorously as he found yet another maggot.
Yeah.
There was somewhere between 20 and 50 maggots.
On this one model.
And every so often someone would go over to him and be like, "Huh, you missed a maggot. Right there." And he would
Swearing would ensue.
And then he'd go and get the paint that he put away 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And start painting that maggot as well.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Paint yet another maggot. So yeah, so that's the thing. Do you know a lot about the fantasy side? Because that's the 40k side.
Yes.
I know that my Nurgle knowledge is limited to Glotkin,
Yes.
who are the three brothers, whose names I can't remember. Can you remember them before I start Googling?
Not at all.
Okay.
Because that was the end times night. Was where I quietly started. Was like,
yeah, but the Glotkin were cool.
I know it was at they were the last peak point of
Yes,
that.
they were. Yes, the
before it
siege
went
of
downhill.
Mordor.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the old school Nurgle champions.
Yeah, because I don't know a lot about the fantasy.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I always felt like because I know all the big named guys for like the other powers, like your Acold Hellbrasses, your T'Challa the Denied, your Arbol the Undefeated.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what the names of the fantasy Nurgle guys were. I genuinely can't think of any.
Okay. Well,
Like I can picture, there's a model I can picture who's like kind of guy. He's like a hooded guy with with his hand up with the sort of throwing up the devil horns and then like a scythe thing. I think I vaguely remember some sort of sorcerer looking dude.
Okay, so the Glotkin were three brothers.
Yeah.
Otto, Ethric, and Glork.
What a great name.
Now, I'm pretty certain that Otto and Ethric are the two guys on the back of the
Glork
model.
is the big thing.
And Glork is the big brother.
He's
that
the big
looks like
beast.
a Glock.
A great unclean one.
A great unclean one, but
Yes.
isn't. And loads of
Yes.
people use him as a great unclean one because he is a really badass model.
Yeah.
And they fought on this, obviously on the side of Nurgle.
Yeah.
They were mortal followers. They weren't demons.
No.
And they fought in the siege of Altdorf.
Yes.
Against the forces
Empire.
of the Empire. But yeah, so that's them. They are. I knew there was three brothers. I just couldn't remember what they were called. But yes, Otto, Ethric, and Glork.
Yep.
Shout out to Glork, fantastic name. Okay, so yes, fantasy based
Chaos Lords.
and followers of Nurgle and such
Yes.
like as things. But before we carry on, I found a lovely thing.
Okay.
This is a children's rhyme,
Uh-oh.
often heard in Ostland,
Ooh.
which of course is a province of the Empire.
It is, yes.
It is the Lord of Flies will eat your eyes when last your breath gives out, and if you cry before you die, he'll kill you with the gout.
Lovely.
Lovely. So yeah, I just found that while searching through. Now, I have been woefully unable to find a great deal of followers of Nurgle within the old world.
Yeah, I don't remember them. I'm sure there probably are one or two in the old Champions of Chaos book, which was the 5th edition, which is full of all the different followers, like both demon and mortal and beast, that were all the different special characters. But the only one I remember is from when I think it was the 6th edition or 7th edition fantasy, where they introduced a bunch of new characters, where Valkyr the Bloody comes from and things like that. And the Nurgle character, because they made sure there was at least one for every thing. This is where Sigvald comes from.
Sigvald, yes.
Sigvald's first appearance is in this book. And the Nurgle one was Festus the Leech Lord.
Ooh.
Also known as Old Sawbones, the Dark Apothecary, or the Fecundite.
So it takes a little bit after, yes.
Yeah.
Fabius.
Yeah.
He's the fantasy version of Fabius Bard.
Kind of, yeah. So his whole thing is that he was once a skilled chirurgeon who founded hospices all over the province of Nordland. He was compassionate as he was gifted. He basically just wanted to help everybody. He overcame outbreaks of the screaming ague, black leggy, and even the crippling ghoul pox. But
crippling ghoul pox doesn't sound like something I want.
No, I don't want any of them.
I don't know, but that one particularly.
I don't want black leggy either. But unfortunately, it was the onset of gnashing fever that marked the beginning of the end for Festus. He basically tried so hard to come up with something that would help stave it off or cure it. He locked himself away in his laboratory for nights and nights, desperately trying to find a cure. He kept bringing in various victims, sequestered them with him to help him in his experiments. And then one point he just, as all of his sort of subjects, all these people were trying to help, finally, the last one of them finally died. He broke down, fell to his knees, and just screamed to the sky for help. All of the corpses then sort of pop up.
Oh dear.
Look at him and basically say, we will give you the knowledge not only to cure this plague, but the knowledge of every disease in the world in return for a lifetime of service. And obviously, as is with most of these Chaos followers, in the moment of desperation, this is where Nurgle usually comes to you, this is where he specifically, his thing is, you're so desperate, you just want anybody to help you get past this point. He agreed, and in the blink of a bloodshot eye, Festus' mind was filled with every detail of every sickness, ailment, and plague known to the great god Nurgle. This drove him entirely mad, washing away his compassion and leaving nothing more than an intimate knowledge of disease and the desire to experiment. He became the Leech Lord of Nurgle, who goes to war in the name of furthering his revolting studies. Though his curative powers are greater than ever before, woe betide the fool who crosses the Doctor, for he is not above force-feeding his latest concoctions to his victims in his quest to bring ever more repugnant forms of life into the world. So yes, that is Festus the Leech Lord.
He was the one we could find the most about.
Yes.
There obviously are...
Yeah, if you remember the way back when, people leave them in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
And make me go, of course that guy.
Yeah.
Which is usually what happens with these things.
If you know of any that we missed, which probably was a few, who is your favourite? I actually haven't asked this about the previous ones, but leave comments about...
Who's your favourite Chaos Champion?
Chaos Champion.
Any power, none, if you wish.
So I, for a long time, didn't really like Chaos.
Yeah.
I thought they were overpowered in the game, and I didn't know a lot about the lore. Game-wise, I still don't really like them. Lore-wise, the Chaos Gods are great. I really like them. Nurgle, obviously, being my favourite.
Yeah.
And we're coming on to my second favourite next time, which, as I said while we were just having a quick pause to do some Googling, is the one I know the least about.
Which is one, ironically, one I know the most about.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a huge fan, personally.
So, but next episode that you will hear canonically, not necessarily chronologically, is our questions and answers. So we say again, if you do have any questions regarding anything we've done or that you want us to do or you want answers to, predominantly lore-based. Neither me nor Pete are super au fait with game-related things. Like, can you shoot around this building if such another building is in the way?
I'll give you a ruling.
Yep.
It'll be well thought out, but it might not be the one that everyone else gives.
We can give game responses, but we don't know if they're going to be right.
Yeah.
But ours are basically lore-based stuff, so if you do have any lore-based questions, be that fantasy, 40k,
Age of Sigmar, Blood Bowl even.
Blood Bowl, yes.
Whatever it might be.
Blood Bowl, Necromunda, you're a fan.
I love
some Necromunda. We are going to do an episode on it.
Yes.
We've done Gorkamorka, I feel like we should do the other ones.
We should do the notorious Underhive of Hive Primus.
Hive Primus, yes. Necromunda. I would like to do a Mordheim episode, for that is my favourite mini game, and I love me some Mordheim. And quick, kill some Ratmen.
Oh, of course.
So we'll be doing those all coming up. But yes, questions and answers. As we said at the start of the show, if you would please leave a comment, like, share, subscribe on any of the platforms where we can be found. So Pete can be found at Onyx Dragon Gaming on Twitch and YouTube.
And also where all good social media is sold.
Yep. You can find us at Lazy Dragon Gaming or LD Gaming Live on Twitch. Please, if you do have a chance to leave us a follow on any of those, that would be wonderful as well.
Yes.
If you are listening from outside of the UK, where both me, Pete, and Evie are based, we all live inside the UK, let us know where you're from.
Yeah.
Tell us what games you play. We are interested to hear what the spread of our listeners actually plays.
Yes.
If you do, because we do know a lot of people that don't.
Yeah. Which ones you're interested in?
Where does your interest lie? And if you have a topic you would like us to discuss.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, we're all about that lark as well. So please do that. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
And it's good night from her.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.